Welcome everyone to the third Thursday meetup of the West Orlando WordPress Meetup Group. I'm Brian Walton, a co-organizer and host. West Orlando WordPress is an official WordPress meetup group and is affiliated with the main WordPress Orlando and WordCamp US meetup groups. Our presenter tonight is Neha Patel, a web developer who loves doing creative things, biking and reading about health these days in her free time. She also enjoys helping people from a young age. Neha works as a full-time web developer. She owns a small business where she helps people with web design, development, and marketing. When time permits, she volunteers at Ladies Learning Code and teaches coding to kids and adults. She has really enjoyed the experience of having spoken at various WordCamps in the past few years. Today, Neha will talk about our 404 pages. No matter how hard we try, we tend to delete and update content on our websites, which leads to 404 error pages when a user tries to reach them. Neha will show you how to make sure that the user does not leave empty-handed and to guide the user towards the information they were looking for. During the talk, in the chat window, and afterwards, when the recording is posted on the West Orlando WP.org website, we will provide you a link to her slides. At this point, I'd like to invite everyone to mute your microphones for the presentation. Neha, thank you for being our presenter this evening. The time is now yours.
Thank you so much, Brian, for the introduction. And I'm gonna just say a bit about myself. I'm a web developer and a designer, and I work with WordPress websites, and I also work with the marketing and SEO team. So my work also coincides with a lot of aspects of marketing and SEO. And I'm really sorry, I'm gonna apologize in advance because I have a bit of cold. So I'm gonna just mute my microphone time to time and take a sip of tea or cough. So I apologize. Yes, so let's dive into the presentation. And so why did I take this topic? First of all, I took this topic 404 pages because 404 pages are something that are inevitable. People create content all the time and delete content all the time. So, but we forget to take steps after deleting or updating content. And we want to give our users more user-friendly experience when they land on our website. I'm going to share my slides now. So 404 pages are inevitable, so we want to make the most out of it, or at least give our users something in return when they land on a 404 page on our website. I want you to think what you feel when you land on a 404 page. What happens when you are expecting some information when you clicked on a link, but actually it's a 404 page? You feel disappointment, or you feel frustration or anger. Well, not quite like this, but some people do feel this way. So our goal is, as a web designer and a developer, is to make our users feel that we care, give them something in return, and make them feel that we didn't want to waste their time. We actually care. Our goal to turn that into this. We want to make our 404 pages and this entire experience into something positive. The main goal of my presentation is not to give you a how-to guide or a checklist of things you should do. I'm going to explain you a few things that we tend to miss out, and I'm going to share with you some ways that we can make 404 pages better, and leave you with something that will actually make you think. I broke down this presentation into a few parts. I'll just quickly go over what is 404 page and how do 404 pages come into existence in the first place. And then we'll also quickly discuss how to avoid the 404 pages. And then I'll show you how it actually hurts your SEO. And different ways to track 404 pages using different tools and plugins and Google Analytics and Search Console. And we are also going to see what to do after finding your 404 pages and how to tackle if you have a lot of 404 pages. And last but not least, we are also going to take a look at how to update your 404.php in WordPress to make a better 404 page for a user. So you might have seen error 404 in different ways in different browsers. So there's different browsers display the same message in a different way. So error 404 or 404 not found. I'm sure everyone came across a 404 page. Some 404 pages were actually really helpful, and some 404 pages were plain blank error pages, and all we did was click on the cross and close that tab. How do I categorize 404 pages? See, I think of 404 pages as a part of website maintenance. When you update plugins or the core of the WordPress website, 404 pages should be considered as a part of your maintenance and given as much importance. And as we all know that anything you do on the website also affects your marketing and SEO. Anything on your website, if it's slow or if it's fast, if there's problems on the website, it affects your SEO. So 404 pages do affect marketing and SEO also. So that's why I would consider it as part of both. It's a website maintenance task, but it's also a marketing and SEO task. Why does 404 page happen? So 404 pages happen when a non-existing URL is requested from a web browser, right? When you request something, a URL that's not existing on a web browser, a 404 page is returned. Sometimes it's because we mistyped something. Sometimes because the page was deleted. There could be many reasons. Some examples why URLs change and content is updated or deleted are as follows. Human errors, branding changes, organizational needs, SEO needs, indecisiveness. This happens to me a lot. I pick a title, but after a few days, I don't like the title. So I try to change it. That shouldn't happen. We should always double check whether if it's a proper title for a blog post, whether it makes sense or no. Outdated content and relevance. This also happens often on websites. Content gets outdated and irrelevant, and you have to change it. All these things lead to 404 pages or deleted content. Now, we are going to just quickly discuss how to try and best avoid these 404 pages. I'm going to try to go through these slides as fast as I can, because this is a theory part and I always don't like theory a lot. I like something that is actually actionable and demos, but this was really important. That's why I had to include it. So human errors, how to try and avoid human errors, right? Double check content, use tools like Grammarly or Yoast, use plugins called Broken Link Checker. Try to check links on your website that are coming from other websites, because you're using links from other people's websites on your website. Use a Broken Link Checker plugin to run a test on your website and check if there are any broken links. So yeah, make use of different tools and make sure to avoid human errors as much as possible. Outdatedness. So content becomes outdated, right? And how to try to avoid that situation. What happens is these days, everyone wants to be in the hype. Everyone wants to be jump into content that's buzzing, that wants to want to post contents that's related to the current events that are going on. But it's really important to maintain a balance. Plan more evergreen content than just jumping into the current trends. If you keep a balance, then you'll have less outdated content to worry about. Rebranding and irrelevant content. Now, branding is something that most people try to do it every once in a while, but make sure that there are no major brand changes. Otherwise, the names of the URLs and pages change. The content needs to be matched with the new brand or the new brand guideline, stuff like that. So you want to make sure that these type of things are really given importance when you do branding and guideline changes. I included some good examples, but we won't go over them right now. But I include them if you want to refer it later. Last point in how to try to best avoid is regularly check for broken links. Use a broken link checker, like we discussed in the first point. Use a plugin to double check check for broken links on your website. When you delete something, make sure you check your entire website if that link exists in your website and try to update it. If the page is indexed, or if the page is already linked with third-party websites, then make sure you redirect it. So yeah, these are some few points that you need to keep in mind in order to avoid 404 pages as much as we can. Now, how does it affect your SEO? 404 itself does not hurt your SEO. So that's great, but it indirectly does. So Google doesn't index 404 pages. If a page returns 404 few times, Google thinks that the page does not exist. So that's perfect, good for me, right? But see, what happens is when you have a lot of content, content is shared, it's linked with other third-party websites link back to your content. What happens is that link and the content that you shared is now shared with different people. It's indexed on Google everywhere. And then when you decide to delete that page or update the URL, that page is now broken. That old URL is now broken, and it will return a 404 page when a user will try to come to that page from a third-party website or from Google. What it does is when users land on the website, they think that, okay, the page I was looking for does not exist. So they try to just leave if we do not offer them with something in return, right? When they leave the website, it decreases the average page on time. It affects your bounce rate. It affects it gives you negative points and decreases your credibility when it comes to SEO. So we want to try and avoid that situation. More number of 404 pages, the harder it is for your website to perform on Google. Now, this is the best part, how to track 404 pages. So internal links that are broken, you can track with the Broken Link Checker plugin. But there are several other plugins. The Broken Link Checker plugin gives you broken links. It also gives you warnings. It also gives you redirects and dismissed URLs. So what you can do, you can directly go in the dashboard and update your links, or you can unlink the words or texts that was linked to a broken link. So that's an easy to use interface that Broken Link Checker gives you. And there are several other good plugins. But there's also this paid tool called SEMrush. It gives you with a list of pages, with list of 404 pages with several other features. And there are several other plugins. This is one that I have used more often. Now, how to track it with Google Analytics. Step 1. You take your normal Google Analytics script, and I have added a simple line here to track the 404 errors. You edit your Google Analytics, your basic default Google Analytics script, and you add this line, you copy it, and you paste it in your 404.php page template. After some time, you will be able to see your 404 pages in the behavior, site content, all pages. And if you type 404 in the search bar, you'll see the 404 pages. If you do not have Google Analytics, however, you cannot do this. But setting up Google Analytics is super simple, and most websites have it. So set up Google Analytics and you can do this. Another way is tracking through Search Console. This also requires setting up your website property in Search Console. I recorded a quick video from one of my properties. So when you go to Search Console, go to Coverage, and it will show you 3 tabs. So there's the Error tab, which will show you 404 errors. Now this one did not have any submitted URL that had 404. This is the same thing, Valid tab, Excluded tab. Now the Excluded tab is the URLs that you did not submit to Google. And that one has 254 404 pages. Now that's a lot of 404 pages. But if those pages were not meant to be indexed, those pages are not submitted to Google, it's not necessary to do anything about it. What to do after finding 404 pages? Now, we discussed checking how to track those 404 pages. We discussed how to avoid those 404 pages. Now we are going to discuss what to do after finding 404 pages and make sure that we give users something in return. Check if the page is indexed on Google. Second, check if the page has any traffic. Check for internal and external links. If these things happen, you can do a 301 redirect to a relevant page. It's very important that if three things have happened, you need to make a 301 redirect and send the users to a more relevant or fresh page. Otherwise, you can let the page be 404 and it will die out eventually. Now, there's different ways to do 301 redirects. I assume that everyone on this call knows a lot of this, but I just wrote it down in case anyone on the call was new to this, right? There's different ways to update a 301 redirect, to do 301 redirects. Update htaccess manually, use a redirect plugin, or use a Yoast paid plugin. And there's different other plugins to do it. Now, last but not least, create better 404 pages. Show your users that you actually care. Turn their bitter experience into something positive. You want to give your users something in return for them landing on a 404 page and wasting their time, right? For this, we have a little checklist that you can follow. You can clearly state that the page they are looking for does not exist. Add a search box. Now, some websites design the 404 in a way that you can't even tell that it's a 404. So you want to clearly tell your user that, sorry, what you were looking for is not here. But then offer them a bunch of things that they can actually use instead. So give them a search box. Make sure the branding is consistent. Make sure that the page, 404 page itself, doesn't look like they are in a completely different website. Make sure that they feel like it is the part of a website. They're not in a different website, right? Add a sorry note, or at least something funny or something personal, etc. Just a message to let them know that, sorry, something that you are looking for is not here, but hey, we have these fresh pieces of content that you might be interested in. So provide them with that. And these are some suggestions, but I'm sure you can find a lot more examples. So look it up, do your research, and see what best fits your needs and your audience. Now let's take a look at some 404 sample pages. I have a really good example here that I really like. 404 not found for Airbnb. See, they have a girl who just made a mess. Now, Airbnb is in the hospitality industry, so this is not something that they wanna show that this is not something we do. They want to show this not clean place as an opposite of what they actually do, because this is a 404 page. They want to give, they also shared some links to the homepage, to the search, and some important links. So this is a nice example that I like. There's also this. interaction design. They actually give you a little form that you can submit that you came from a different page. So this website has a nice form that you can submit. Behance. Behance is a place for designers and artists to showcase their work. So they have a really nice set of links that people can browse, and some designers. These are dynamic links that keep changing. Whenever I land on a page, there's a different designer's profile that is shown on the 404 page. So these were some really good examples. I also included a terrible example, but that's terrible according to me, but it could be funny for some people. They say, there is nothing funny about that, go home. But it actually goes to their homepage. So yeah, design your 404 page, keeping your target audience in mind and keeping in mind what could be useful to them. There are different plugins to take care of 404 pages and create better 404 pages. There are plugins that will redirect your 404 pages automatically to something more relevant. There are plugins to create different kinds of rules. There's plugin to create a completely customized 404 page. And there's I included a link to a template of a 404 page from this really good developer that I follow, Amit Agrawal. He has included a basic template of 404 pages to start with. And yeah, so that's it when it comes to 404 pages. I just wanted to share with you why 404 pages are important, how you can track them, and how, as a developer and designer, our job is to make the user's experience better on our website. So that's why it's important to make sure that the 404 pages are taken care of, and these are different tools to make your 404s better. And that's it for my presentation. If you guys have any questions, please let me know.
Thanks, Neha. That was great.